The execution ground of the Blackthorn pack had never been this crowded. Word had spread through the territory like wildfire. A lone Omega, a stranger with no pack mark, had been caught trespassing in the sacred grove behind the Alpha's stronghold. It was the grove where the pack's ancestors were buried, where no outsider was ever allowed to walk. Trespassing alone would have earned her a beating and exile, but she had been found kneeling beside a dead sentry, blood on her hands, and for that, the law offered only one answer: death. Alpha King Cassian Ashford stood at the top of the stone steps, arms crossed, his face like carved granite. He was the youngest Alpha King in 3 generations. He had taken the crown at 24, after his father's sudden death, and in the 2 years since, he had never once shown mercy to anyone who threatened his pack's safety. He did not plan to start today. Guards dragged the girl forward. She was small, with dark hair falling loose around her shoulders, dressed in torn traveling clothes that told of many days on the run. Her wrists were bound with silver-lined rope. The metal burned her skin, but she did not cry out. She lifted her chin and looked straight at him, and something in that quiet defiance made the whole crowd fall silent. "Name," Cassian said. "Ilara," she answered. "Just that. No surname, no pack." "You killed one of my sentries." "I defended myself against one of your sentries," she said, her voice shaking but steady enough to be heard. "He found me in the grove. He didn't ask a single question. He attacked first." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Cassian's second-in-command, Roran, leaned toward him and said quietly that the sentry in question, a man named Toby, had a history of acting without orders. But the law did not care about a man's history. It cared only that a pack member was dead, and a stranger stood over the body. "It doesn't matter," Cassian said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Trespassing in the sacred grove means death. The law does not bend for a story I cannot prove." He lifted his hand. That single motion was the signal for the executioner to step forward. And that was the moment everything changed. Deep inside him, something ancient stirred. His wolf, the part of him that had been silent for years, uninterested in every woman his advisors had introduced as a possible future Luna, rose with a force that nearly knocked the breath from his chest. It was not anger. It was recognition, sudden and complete. It clawed upward inside him and let out a silent howl, a sound that existed only in his own mind. Yet it was so powerful that his vision blurred and his knees nearly gave way. "Mate!" The word struck him like a blow. His raised hand froze in the air. He looked at Ilara again, truly looked at her this time, past the dirt and the blood and the raw marks the silver had left on her skin. The world seemed to tilt around one impossible fact. Her scent reached him now, rain and cedar, and something achingly familiar, as though he had known it his whole life without ever meeting her. His wolf howled again, desperate to be let loose, desperate to protect her, desperate to beg forgiveness for the blade that had almost fallen. Ilara's breath caught in her throat. She had felt it too, the sudden pull, a thread snapping tight between them that could not be denied. For one unguarded second, the calm she wore like armor cracked wide open. She knew. A bond like this did not appear for only one person. But instead of hope, something like quiet despair crossed her face. "No," she whispered, so softly that only he could hear it, even from where he stood. "No, this cannot be happening." She shook her head, and Cassian saw her pulse racing at her throat, saw her bound hands curl into tight fists. She did not look like a woman who had just found her mate. She looked like a woman who had just discovered a far more complicated way to lose everything. "Release her," Cassian said. His voice did not sound like his own. "My king," Roran began. "I said release her." He was already walking down the steps, paying no attention to the shocked whispers spreading through the crowd, or to the executioner lowering his blade in confusion. "This woman is my mate. No one touches her." The words fell over the crowd like thunder, but Ilara flinched as though they were an accusation rather than a rescue. Up close, the pull between them was almost unbearable. Every instinct in him screamed to close the last few steps, to press his forehead against hers, to breathe her in until the ache in his chest finally eased. Instead, he reached for the ropes binding her wrists. The moment his fingers brushed her skin, they both went still. a quiet current passing between them that had nothing to do with the silver burning her flesh. "Why were you really in the grove?" he asked, his voice low, meant only for her. Her jaw tightened. "I told you the truth. I did not come here to kill anyone. I came because I had nowhere else to go." She lifted her eyes to his, and beneath the fear he saw something fierce and unbroken. "My pack is dead, Alpha King. They were slaughtered 3 nights ago by rogues wearing your sentry's colors. I followed the trail here because I wanted answers. Your man found me before I could find them, and he never gave me the chance to explain before he drew his blade." Cassian went very still. Rogues wearing blackthorn colors was not a rumor he had ever heard, which meant one of 2 things. Either she was lying to save her own life, or something far darker than a trespassing stranger was moving quietly through his territory. "If that is true," he said slowly, "then you did not just survive an execution today, you uncovered a traitor inside my own ranks." "I don't want your gratitude," Ilara said, and for the first time, real anger broke through her fear. "I want to know why my family is dead. I don't care that some invisible thread has tied us together. That doesn't erase what almost happened here. You were ready to let me die without even asking my name until the very last moment." The words landed harder than any blow could have. Cassian, feared by rivals and respected by his own people, had no answer for that, because she was right. He had raised his hand. His wolf's sudden recognition did not undo the 2 seconds before it, when he had been fully prepared to let the executioner's blade fall on the word of a dead man and a length of silver rope. "Then let me earn it," he said at last. "Not the bond, the trust. Stay here. Let me find who killed your pack and wore my colors while doing it. Let me show you that the man who almost had you executed is not the only version of me you will ever know." Her wrists were finally free, the crowd around them utterly silent, waiting to see whether their king's declared mate would turn and run or choose to stay. "One chance," she said finally. "Not because of the bond, because of the traitor. I want the truth more than I want to hate you." Cassian nodded, something in his chest loosening for the first time in 2 long years. It was not forgiveness. It was not even trust, not yet. But it was a beginning. That night, Ilara was given quarters inside the stronghold, far from the cells where prisoners were normally kept. A healer treated the burns on her wrists while 2 guards stood outside her door, though whether they were there to protect her or watch her, she could not say. She lay awake staring at the ceiling, her heart still pounding from everything that had happened. She had come to Blackthorn territory expecting to find enemies. She had not expected to find the one man whose voice could silence an entire execution ground with a single sentence, or to feel her whole body recognize him as though she had been waiting for him her entire life. She thought of her mother, her younger brother, the quiet cabin at the edge of their old territory, all of it burned to ash in a single night. She thought of the rogue markings she had seen near the bodies, markings that had been carefully painted over with blackthorn blue, as if someone wanted the world to believe her pack's death was Cassian's doing. Someone had planned this carefully. Someone had wanted her to walk straight into the Alpha King's territory believing he was her enemy. Down the hall, Cassian stood at his window, unable to sleep either. Roran had asked him twice already if he wanted the sentry's death investigated quietly or announced to the pack. Cassian had said neither, not yet. If there truly was a traitor moving among his own men, wearing his colors to slaughter another pack and frame him for it, then a quiet investigation would be seen, and a loud one would scare the traitor into hiding. He needed patience, something he had never been especially good at. He needed her too, though not in the way his wolf kept insisting. He needed her memory of that night, every detail she could recall. The next morning, he found her in the training courtyard, watching the young pack members practice under the pale sunrise. She startled when she noticed him, but did not step back. "I want to help you find them," she said, before he could speak. "The ones who killed my pack. If it means walking beside the man who almost killed me, then so be it. I have nothing left to lose." "You have your life," Cassian said quietly. "That is not nothing. It feels like nothing when everyone I loved is gone." Her voice cracked slightly, and for a moment the fierce composure faded, revealing the grief beneath it. Cassian felt his wolf ache in response, wanting nothing more than to close the distance and hold her, but he stayed where he was. She was not ready for that. and he understood. Over the following days, they worked together far more than either of them expected to. Elara described everything she remembered, the direction the rogues had come from, a symbol carved into a fallen tree near her old territory, and the strange way the attackers had moved, disciplined and organized, nothing like the wild raids rogues were known for. Roran cross-checked her descriptions against pack patrol routes and found something troubling. 3 sentries, including the one Elara had defended herself against, had been assigned to unscheduled patrols near her territory the same week her pack was destroyed. The pieces began to fit together in a way that made Cassian's stomach turn. Someone inside his own command structure had ordered those patrols. Someone had used Blackthorn sentries to destroy a smaller pack, and then quietly ensured that Elara, the one witness who could expose them, would be caught, blamed, and executed before she could speak a single word in her own defense. "It was never about me trespassing," Elara said one evening, staring at the map spread across Cassian's table. "I was meant to die the moment I set foot in your territory. Someone wanted me silenced before I ever reached you." "They almost succeeded," Cassian said, his voice tight with something between guilt and fury. "I almost succeeded for them." Elara looked up at him, and for the first time since the execution ground, her expression softened, just slightly. "You stopped," she said. "At the very last second, you stopped. That has to count for something. It should have never gotten that far." "No," she agreed. "It shouldn't have, but it did, and you still chose to stop." She hesitated, then added quietly, "My wolf recognized you too, you know, the moment I saw you standing above me. I have spent every day since trying to decide if that terrifies me more than it comforts me." Cassian did not know what to say to that, so he simply stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders nearly touched, and let the silence hold the space words could not. It took another full week of careful searching before they found their answer. A trusted advisor, a man who had served the Ashford family for over a decade, had been secretly working to weaken smaller neighboring packs and place blame on Cassian's territory, hoping to spark a war that would leave him positioned to seize power in the chaos that followed. Elara's family had simply been in the wrong place with the wrong knowledge, discovered plotting patrol routes that did not belong to them. When the truth came out before the full pack, the traitor was stripped of his rank and cast from Blackthorn territory forever, his crimes declared openly, so that no shadow of blame would ever fall on Elara again. The pack that had gathered to watch an execution weeks earlier now gathered to watch her cleared name spoken aloud beneath the same gray sky. Afterward, standing once more on the very ground where she had nearly lost her life, Elara turned to Cassian. "I still don't know what to call this," she admitted, gesturing faintly between them, meaning the bond, the ache, the quiet pull that had not faded even once during the long, difficult days behind them. "But I know I don't want to run from it anymore." "Then don't," Cassian said softly. "Stay, not because a bond decided it for you, but because you choose to." Elara looked at him for a long moment, the wind catching loose strands of her dark hair, and for the first time since the night her old life burned to ash, something like hope settled quietly in her chest. "I choose to," she said. And somewhere deep inside him, his wolf, quiet now, finally rested, not in triumph, but in the fragile, steady peace of something long searched for, finally found.